Hey, what's going on, everyone? I figured since it's Friday, might as well take the time to talk about a few of the books that I finished recently, a couple that I'm still in the process of, and the book that I'm going to treat myself to if I can get my currently reading pile down a couple of notches. As well as talk a little bit about that life change that I had announced in an earlier video this week. But first, let's go ahead, go get something to drink. Alright, so let's see if we can talk about some books as well as life in the same video without screwing it up too much. For those who haven't seen a video I put out earlier this week, I was talking about how I have like 10, 11, 12 books that I don't want to DNF, that I'm in the middle of, just happen to keep starting books without finishing them even though I want to. But during that video, I was also able to announce that I have a new job. So I can officially say now that I am like fully out of social work, out of the social work field. And I am now the director of a library, which is like crazy. But before you get too excited, I still live in the middle of nowhere. You know, this is a very, very rural library. Even for Maine, I'm in like the bottom tier, I think, as far as like population served and stuff, as far as how they categorize libraries and everything. But it's still just it's just a weird thing. So basically, a series of fortunate for me, I guess, just a series of events just conspired to help me achieve this, which is really crazy. But let's talk about one of the books first, because I feel like I'm just gonna, I don't know, should I mix them? It's too late. I've already said it. I'm too lazy to edit this. So let's just get started with a couple ones that I have finished. In my head, I thought somehow I would like connect the two things. It really should have just been two different videos, but too late for that. I was able to finish this here as a buddy read in my philosophy Discord. It's At the Existentialist Cafe by Sarah Bakewell. Freedom being an apricot cocktails, and this is all about the existentialists during the first half of the 20th century, and kind of like almost like mini biographies of the vast majority of them. Obviously Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir are probably like the main players, I guess, and like the cast sort of revolves around them. But you have some early chapters on Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger. But one of the ones I didn't know anything about really was Maurice Merleau-Ponty, and I guess I'm gonna have to pick up some of his like primary works. Just it seems super good. Just everything that I read from this book about him, he's probably my favorite existentialist to read about. And it's all about like just the excitement. And I guess, you know, just thinking about how cool it is, like, to be alive in the moment and stuff, which is kind of a little bit of a different take. He's definitely, like, more upbeat than a lot of the other existentialists and stuff. Maybe not quite, not on, like, the absurdist level like Albert Camus is, if that makes sense. Probably not. I don't know. I'm probably doing a terrible job selling that. But anyways, about the book itself, I did really, really enjoy. I can see why I did make a pretty big splash like 10 years ago or so. I think it was a really great blend of the historical, biographical, you know, story narrative, as well as actually going into like the deeper ideas of a lot of these different philosophers. I'd say probably like a good like 60-40 ratio. So it definitely didn't like gloss over like their thinking and their works and that kind of stuff, but it's just really nice to have like the biographical context in which a lot of these like philosophers and their writings like took place. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyways, yeah, well, that was a nice smooth transition, wasn't it, Justin? Anyways, so yeah, I've wanted to leave social work for a while, just like kind of a lot of burnout and that kind of thing. I remember in 2023 was just a really hard year for me. Work wise, and I think I only put out maybe like 8 or 9 videos like that whole year. So I kind of tried to transition to some other stuff. I had some and more energy. It kind of resurrected the channel from the dead in early 2024 last year. But I feel like now with being around books all the time, granted I can't just sit around and read them, but being around books and talking about some books, granted it's not all just books, actually, in my case, I'm not even really emphasizing the books as much as the programming and all that kind of stuff in the library, but I do feel energized, and I'm trying to come up with ideas to kind of incorporate library stuff and regular life booktube stuff together. So if you have any ideas or questions and stuff about libraries, things like that, leave them down below, and I'll see if I can do videos with it or something. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, don't romanticize it too much. My nonfiction section, my library, I think has a higher quality nonfiction section than this one. Like I said, I live in the middle of nowhere, so funds this library was almost the town almost closed it a couple of years ago and stuff. So like I said, don't romanticize it too much. It's not. I wish it was something super grand and everything, but not quite. Anyways, another book that I finished here is Jody Hayer's Autism is Not a Disease, The Politics of Neurodiversity. And the reason I picked this one up was, like many of you, I'm sure, I had to listen to, the asinine comments of RFK Jr. and his interpretation and thoughts on autism and autistic people, as he would say, and how they can't do anything, which really pissed me off, basically. Just because, like I said, even though I'm out of social work and I'm burnt out of it, that doesn't mean I don't, I'll never, put that stuff to the side, ever, if that makes sense. And at one point in my career, I was dealing with elderly people with different mental conditions like schizophrenia, Down syndrome, autism, all kinds of stuff. And like I said, just his comments just made me upset, we'll say. So anyways, picked this one up with a sale with Verso, and I did really enjoy it. It's very short. It's about 120-ish pages and stuff. But it's basically what you think you're gonna get. It's just a book kind of dealing with, here are the realities of neurodivergent people. Here are kind of the disadvantages going through life, through different, housing systems, different physical problems and stuff, discrimination, all that kind of thing. And then what we can do to try to make, things in life better for the neurodivergent population, and how it's not a problem. It's not it's not a disease. It's not, what did he say? They will never fall in love or write poetry. And, noticeably the first thing he says is pay taxes and stuff. But anyways, I do recommend this book if you're just kind of curious about understanding, I guess, the neurodivergent inclusive kind of movement going on. You could do a lot worse things than pick that one up. But anyways, so with the library job, I was getting out of social work, and I literally was willing to take anything just to kind of reset my life and figure something out. And lo and behold, it was actually just goofy. It was actually just a part-time position at a granted, my town literally doesn't have a library, but a nearby-ish, a couple of towns over, had a part-time position available. So I took it. And I was I'll just make it kind of work for now. It wasn't really going to work long term. But I was this is a nice little break. And then, like I said, due to a series of a bunch of just random events and things happening, kind of behind the scenes that I didn't even know about for the most part, basically the directorship came open, and I interviewed for it and got it. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm hoping it's gonna be a good long-term fit, because that's something I've stressed about for a long time. Like I said, I felt burnt out with social work after a while. Granted, I didn't even last as long as a lot of my colleagues and stuff. I think it was only 8 or 9 years and stuff. But anyways, I've been telling people in a year from now, it's either going to be a train wreck or a Hallmark movie, basically, in this community and stuff, as far as the library is concerned and everything. So definitely looking forward to it. But like I said, don't I'm telling people, don't glamorize it too much, because we'll just say it needs a lot of work. I think half the reason I got it too was like, I offer to put in like sweat equity for like certain things, in a way. So I think that'll help like kind of keep some of the capital improvement costs down and whatnot. But anyways, let's go on to a couple of the ones that I'm currently reading. So I need to, this is one I gotta like focus on here, and it's The Fate of the Day by Rick Atkinson that just recently came out. The War for America. Fort Ticonderoga to Charleston, 1777 to 1780. This is the second book in his Revolutionary War trilogy. And the first one is The British Are Coming, which I read kind of in anticipation of this one earlier this year. And I don't read a lot of military history, and I read almost no American history. Until this year, apparently, because I read a couple of like 20th century American histories too. But anyways, really actually enjoyed it. Like he has a great writing style where it does feel like you're just kind of reading like a historical story narrative rather than a history book. So he just does just super well done. He does have really good source material, and he knows like how much to use and how much to not use it. You know, if that makes sense. The right ratio of like primary source material to just like narrative and stuff. So, like I said, you got some plates as well. Actually, two pretty decent sections of plates. Lots of footnotes, or endnotes, I guess, in this case. But yeah, just really been enjoying it. And I feel like I might pick up some. He won the Pulitzer like 20 years ago for a World War II history that he was doing. I think it was known as the Liberation Trilogy. And I can't remember if it's like Guns at Dawn. Of course, it doesn't say on the back with that one. Can't remember off the top of my head what that one was called. Army at Dawn, The Day of Battle, and the Guns at Last Light, which was kind of like the liberation of Europe in World War II, if I remember correctly. So I almost never read, like I said, World War II. I do read World War I, but not World War II. But that might be one I pick up just because I do like his writing style. I think it just flows really nicely, and you don't get bogged down with all kind of the minutiae, but like still feels like it's in a lot more depth than a lot of like, history books that you read as well. So, yeah. And then one that I've actually been having a lot of fun reading here, I think I forgot to mention it in that video where I had started it already, but it's William Dalrymple's The Golden Road, How Ancient India Transformed the World. So this is all about India and the Golden Road kind of trade route system that connected India to the wider world. And the thesis of this book is essentially, a lot of people know about the Silk Road between China and the West, largely after the Mongols kind of did their thing in world history and whatnot. But before the Mongols, really, it was the Golden Road was actually more important, or at least as important as like kind of the Silk, Chinese like trading routes and stuff. But the Golden Road between India and the West was just kind of forgotten and that kind of thing, and he just wants to rectify that. But it's good for Historathon, because I have not read any medieval history, even though it's quarter two of Historathon. But I think 2/3 of the book, I've read about the first third, which is kind of dealing with ancient India. Like one of the opening chapters was kind of like the origins of Buddhism and kind of different Buddhist sites around the world, around India and stuff, which I thought was actually, it was just really well done. Like I said, just really enjoyed it. So definitely looking forward to it. But I think the other 2/3 is going to be dealing a lot with the medieval period. And there's lots of plates, actually. I haven't gotten to all of them yet, but I think there's 3 or 4 sections of plates here. So just been really enjoying it. Super high quality book. This one even has like, one of those little book ribbons and stuff. And of course it's, gold for the Golden Road. So definitely been enjoying that. And then I guess I should have like one more segue. But yeah, like I said, I want to do some videos. I'm going to talk about like most people, like the town manager and like the board members and stuff, like, no, I have like a bookish YouTube channel and stuff. So I'm gonna see, like, the thing is, I don't really want to dox myself just because I live in the middle of nowhere, and if people could probably figure out like which library it is, I'm sure, somehow, through like image searching or probably just having the name or the plaques and stuff around everywhere. But I want to see if I can do some videos like in some of the cooler parts of the library. I do like it. It is a Carnegie library, and it's kind of kept that old, early 1900s like feel to it, which is good in some ways and kind of like like, some structural things like not so good. But I do really like it, and Soph has to like, make her appearance, we're like 4/5 of the way through the video, so don't knock over my drink. That'd be nice, But anyways, so like I said, let me know down below if you have any questions or have like video ideas that you'd like me to try. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just like I said, I'm just really excited because I feel like I'm gonna be in like, once things kind of get settled in and the transition period is over, I do feel like I'm gonna be like in a much better like headspace as far as just like everything, not even just like booktube and stuff is concerned. So anyways, we shall see. So lastly here, for books coming up down the road, if I finish, my goal here is to finish 3 books out of that pile of like 10 that I've started. And if I finish 3, I want to read David Attenborough's Ocean, Earth's Last Wilderness. It's also written with Colin Butfield. And I think I'm going to splurge, even though I have the book, I'm going to do the audiobook as well with it. And just like listen to David Attenborough's iconic narration as I read and stuff. And there's a documentary, I gotta watch it too, named Ocean, that he's putting out, I think either this month or next month as well. But yeah, he's 99. This might be his last book, unfortunately. But I just really, really enjoy David Attenborough, like documentaries and books like in my life and stuff. So it's gonna be like, how like a lot of people freak out when like the Queen dies and the Pope dies and stuff. It's gonna be like that for me, but with like David Attenborough, and I think a lot of like other like people that love nature and environmental issues and stuff like that as well. But yeah, like I said, this is just gonna be like a nice treat with good information, but just like with the sentimental stuff as well. So there you have it. There's some books coming up, some books I finished, some books I'm currently reading, as well as a little update from me. So, like I said, I'm excited. Who knows, in 4 months it might be just the biggest flop ever. I'm really hoping it's not. It might be, but hopefully it's not. Like I said, I can picture it now. But, maybe that's like, I don't know, I'm psyching myself out. It might be too good to be true. Anyways, like I said, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you're currently reading at the moment and whether it's good or not. And always remember, whatever you end up reading, read victoriously.